This is Stover, the barbecue hunk. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Have a hunky day.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
And welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire fun and frivolity show. And yes, folks, we are back better than ever after a week off. How do you get in contact with the show if the show is not airing live or you want to follow the show during off-show hours? I have all that info here.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, he is a quarterly second Tuesday of the month guest in 2025, the creator of the most heavily trafficked barbecue grilling website on the face of the earth. Meathead! We have a lot of topics to talk about with Meathead, not the least of which, what are you going to do with all that leftover corned beef and or pastrami or just pastrami? And if you have pastrami and you have some left over, you didn't do yesterday that well, but there might be some recipes in the offing here in just a few short moments, amongst other topics. And then we will move 35 past the first hour. We will find third Tuesday of the month regular guest, creator of CookoutNews.com, Wes Wright. Lots of business to talk about with Wes. We have some Traeger updates. We are looking for Weber Blackstone updates. There are some new barbecue pits and or cookers that have been released by said Blackstone, also said Rectech. So lots to talk about with Wes. That'll bring close to the first hour. We'll move to the second hour, where we will find a visit from longtime guests, I think since all the way back in 2010, when she was a pitmaster of a then Yazoo's Delta Q, winning Memphis Barbecue Network Team of the Year, winning Memphis and May competitions. Melissa Cookston, Barbecue Hall of Famer if you need her. Play a little catch-up with Melissa, and then we'll close the show with the first quarterly visit of the first ever full-time barbecue editor at Texas Monthly Magazine. And before he was any of that, originally a Buckeye, Daniel Vaughn, Texas Monthly, tmbbq.com, his website. So that's how the show is laying out for you. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and LinkedIn, all with the handle at BBQ Central Show. And we say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platform partners, Facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or Twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. You can also watch the show on YouTube, which is YouTube.com/@BBQ Central Show. And we do have a new YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests. And I'm asking you tonight, is Magic Kingdom the worst Disney park to go to? When you are an adult, and 75% of you are currently saying, yes, it is the worst park to go to. when you are an adult. By the way, after having been there as early as as recently as last Wednesday, I can tell you the yeses are 100% right. The worst park to go to out of all the Disney parks or associated parks if you're in that area, when you have all things considered, and you are an adult with adult children doing that kind of a trip. Results from the poll 2 weeks ago, I asked everybody if washing any kind of meat is a learned behavior, and 92% of you said yes, that is a learned behavior. In keeping with some of the catch-up from last week's trip, spent a week in the Orlando area, moments away from many of the Disney-themed parks. Also, only 15 minutes away from Universal Studio, which I had never been to in my life. That was a treat, perhaps even a treasure. But I have some valuable information in regards to taking a vacation as an adult with your adult kids when it comes to finding a place to stay. Certainly staying off the Disney property, way less expensive. Highly recommended. The cost between 2 nights on property and a week in what was really an apartment that slept 8 full-sized adults. Kitchenette, laundry, all in the apartment. 9 times less, 10 times less than it was for just 2 nights in a theme park hotel. So stay off campus to save some money. But also, if it's a adult trip, really make sure that you're not doing yourself a disservice by not searching out kid-free properties. Because we did not have a kid-free property, so when you're spending time not going to a park one day, lounging about the general area, a lot of little kids racing around. Look, I was there. I lived that life. I have little kids. You know what? I don't want to do that now. I want to hear your little pissant kids running around the pool, potentially falling down and busting their heads open. I mean, we all get a great laugh out of it, but, I'd rather not see it. And then to see the lack of general parenting from when I was a parent, from when my parents were parents. The younger the kids get, the worse the parenting has gotten. I don't even know if they know how to parent. Nobody yelling at anybody, nobody taking public beatings. Those were the days where you could just give a look or do one of these. The kid would shudder in fear. So, hey, if you don't want that part of it, make sure that you are searching specifically or asking specifically if you're having somebody plan the trip for you, that you're trying to deal with as few kids as possible. It might add a little value or some additional enjoyment. Otherwise, great week, no issues, didn't have to kill any boyfriends. No boyfriends tried to kill other boyfriends. Everybody got along great. Weather was really good. So happy about that. I have some more info in the second hour that I want to share with you as well. But we do have some feedback from Ben at Cracks Country Cooking. Good evening, Greg. I hope you're doing well. Could you please coordinate with Malcolm Reed to schedule episodes when there won't be a show? We can't have both of you off in the same week. Last week, I missed both the Barbecue Central show and the How to Barbecue Right podcast. I had a lonely and quiet drive to work all week. Also, what McAuliffe cigar would you recommend for a beginner? When I last visited my grandfather, he offered me one, and I declined. He just shook his head and said he knew they stopped making Real Men in 1939. That was the year he was born. Jokes aside, love the show. Truly appreciate what you do. Ben from Cracks Country Cooking. And Ben, I would love to take a stab at that last name, but there's just no way I'm going to do that. I'm not going to say it right, and I'm not going to do you the injustice of butchering your last name. There are a lot of consonants. I can tell you that. Very few vowels, but a lot of consonants. So I'm not going to even risk it. But Ben, thank you for listening. And I apologize. I had no idea that Malcolm was also taking off last week. I did give you advanced warning I was going to be off last week with no new to you content. I just took it off. But we are back and better than ever. You have 2 shows ready to go in podcast fashion. Wednesday, Thursday, and then there is a new best of also that's coming on Friday. There was a best of that was released yesterday that I'll also talk about as well. So that about sums it up as far as the open. Oh, I didn't answer your question. What McAuliffe cigar would I recommend for a beginner? Everybody's palate is different, Ben. So if you are somebody that enjoys a little bit more spice, a little bit more full flavor, I would recommend the McAuliffe Black. If you want to roll it back just a tad, I'm saying McAuliffe Red. If you want to dial it what I would call all the way back, McAuliffe Blue. If you want something completely different, but in a similar flavor profile as the Black, I would say the McAuliffe Leonda. Delicious. But the McAuliffe A is great. The McAuliffe Little A is great. The Migdalia is great. I mean, you can't go wrong with whatever they have in their portfolio. They're just substantially great. A lot of greats being tossed around. Speaking of great, Meathead is in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. You know what else is great? Pits and Spits. We kick things off tonight talking about their Pits and Spits griddle. The gas griddle combining the power of a traditional grill with the versatility of a flat-top griddle. Engineered with precision, crafted from top-quality materials, this versatile griddle set to revolutionize your outdoor cooking experience. Constructed of 304 marine-grade stainless steel, fully welded design, the griddle comes with 4 burners to accurately manage your heat zones and get blistering hot with 80,000 BTUs. They are making a 3-burner model as well that I might get my hands on. Made with the Pits and Spits signature quality, the griddle designed to last for a lifetime, perhaps even more lifetimes. Now, for those of you building your ultimate outdoor kitchen, you have to check out the built-in pellet grill. Designed for discerning grill masters who demand top-tier performance, this grill, the centerpiece for any serious outdoor kitchen. From low and slow smoking to high-heat searing, this grill can handle it all. Briskets and ribs and pizzas and veggies, you name it. This grill can cook it, and with the Pits and Spits legendary craftsmanship, you can be confident it's built to last with stainless steel construction and a design that's as reliable as it is versatile. So, are you ready to take your cooking to the next level? Head on over to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. That's pitsandspits.com, all spelled out with the double T on the pits and the spits.com/BBQ Central. Use promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with orders over $500 or more. I can tell you this. If you buy that griddle or you buy that pellet grill, you're going to be well over $500. So the spice pack is a lock. pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central. And we're back with Meathead right after this.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard, makers of Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, Fireboard Beacon, and of course the wireless Fireboard Pulse. When you have the Fireboard app, you also have total access to all devices anywhere in the world that attach to that ecosystem. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call with questions 816-945-2232. And my first guest tonight, as I had mentioned in the open, creator of the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling website, best-selling author, Barbecue Hall of Famer, most importantly, of course, Barbecue Central Show's guest Hall of Famer. We welcome back our pal Meathead. All right, Meathead, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, and it goes a little something like this. Magic Kingdom is the worst Disney park to go to when you're an adult, yes or no?
I have been to Disney World. Is that what it is? The one that's in Orlando?
Yes.
Disney World?
Yes.
One. I've been there once.
Oh.
And I was there with my wife.
All right.
And I have no recollection of which exhibits or rides or things I did, but I did get their smoked turkey leg, the drumstick.
Yes.
They sell a turkey drumstick. And in fact, that's the main reason I consented to go, because people keep asking, how do you make it? And it's cured.
Wait.
It's cured first.
Wait.
Then smoked.
So is it a yes or a no on the question?
I have no idea.
Right, it's a no for you. 21% agree with you. Now, it's funny you mentioned this turkey leg, because Maddie's boyfriend, Steve, Army Steve as we call him, Soldier of the Year 2024, that was his big thing. We got to get to Magic Kingdom. I got to have a turkey leg. He was very insistent. Right before we made the trip, I saw something on social media, because the phone's always listening, that said, you think you're eating a turkey leg, but you're being jobbed. It's actually ham. And now you're talking about what I think you're talking about. And it was in my head. As soon as he got that turkey leg, I watched him bite through the skin, and I'm like, holy shit, that is ham, and it smelled like ham, and it tasted like ham. And I said, everybody, we've been fooled. I screamed from the top of Mickey's ears, you are fools. You are being scammed. This is ham on a bone. What is it, Meathead?
No, it is a cured, it's a big tom turkey, and it is cured with sodium nitrite. And that's the same stuff they make ham and pastrami and corned beef and bacon, and it turns the meat pink and gives it a ham-like flavor.
Yeah.
And in fact, anybody who's cooked ribs a bunch of times knows every now and then, if you get a little heavy-handed on the wood, even ribs can start to taste hammy. So it's not ham, but it's processed a lot like ham. And because turkey meat is a kind of neutral tasting meat, it comes out tasting like turkey ham.
So it's not done for any kind of safety reason. It's done to generate more flavor to the palate.
Yeah, it's smoked, and curing meat and then smoking it that's a great combo. And that's why smoked ham and bacon is pastrami or corned beef. That's all wonderful, and it's because you combine the curing process and the salt. There's a lot of salt involved, and you get a really nice taste. So that's why they do it. And I have reverse engineered it. And if you love that stuff, and the next time Soldier of the Year comes by, it's not hard to do. And the recipe's on AmazingRibs.com, as you might guess.
Of course.
And you can make up a batch for him, and he will admire you.
Even more than he already does. I find that hard to believe, but I will put it to the test to see if I can gain even more adulation from Steve.
He's sucking up to you because he loves your daughter.
Yes, and he could really kick the shit out of me. He's very muscular. So I always watch my P's and Q's around him. Actually, around all the boyfriends.
I could probably kick the shit out of you.
I mean, you're not lying, Meathead. Let's be honest. I'm not very imposing. So, but he's very respectful, which I certainly appreciate. All right, before we get going on some other topics that would involve cooking, leftover recipes from yesterday's festivities, that being St. Patrick's Day, any book update as we're drawing closer?
Well, I got two updates just before I get to the book.
Oh, great.
We are discontinuing our rubs and sauce.
Right.
I know that we spent a little time here. I'm really proud of the products we put out there. But I have learned what Malcolm and the other guys have all learned. You really have to work hard to get placement in grocery stores and Sam's Club. And you got to go in there and you got to call on them. You got to give them discounts, and you got to pay, cross their palm with silver to get display space. And I just don't, I run a website, and we decided we're outside of our realm of skills. We're going to continue building great web content and our Pitmaster Club, which is fantastic. And we're shutting down the rubs and sauces. We've sold them at a discount in bulk to the slow and sear people, and they're selling them on Amazon. And when they're gone, they're gone. In fact, the poultry rub's already sold out, and the sauce is sold out. But we have left the pork rub and the red meat rub. The pork rub is pretty standard pork rub. I think it's a little better than most. You might disagree, but the red meat rub is outstanding. It's brilliant. I used to say anybody who puts anything more than salt and pepper on a steak is an idiot. I can't cook a steak now without it.
Oh.
I think it's still on Amazon. Meathead's red meat rub. Grab some of that before it sells out.
Did you ever think about hiring one of those brokers? I think that's what Malcolm actually ended up doing. He's not super keen on a lot of the business stuff, but he does know when he's out of his depths to bring in experts to help him move the product. Was that a concept or a thought?
We thought about it, and we just looked around and said, stick to what you do best. It wasn't a revenue. It was our least revenue stream.
Yeah.
Even if it's expensive. First of all, the sauce. Anybody out there who's thinking about bringing a sauce to market, forget it. I don't care how good it is. You can't compete with Sweet Baby Ray, which goes on sale at $2.99. I've seen it at $1.99.
I've seen it at 99
You can't
cents.
sell a sauce.
I've seen it at 99
Pardon?
cents.
You've seen it at 99 cents.
Yes.
Oh God. Yes. And a high quality sauce made properly is going to be at least $12.99, maybe $14.99. Yeah. You just can't compete with that, so don't even try. Rubs is a different story, but there's not much of a markup in this stuff. I mean, I admire the hell out of Malcolm and these other guys selling rubs and sauces, but you're selling a $14.99 product, a $12.99 product. You're making a couple of bucks a bottle. You got to sell a hell of a lot of bottles to pay the mortgage.
Yeah. There's a lot
of
rubs.
We're out of the game.
I don't know. I think there's so many great ones out there now. If people are asking me, what do I need to do to get in the rub business? I say, are you looking to make money? And if you reply back with a yes, then I'd say, why bother? I mean, there's so many great rubs, so many tried and true rubs at this point. People have already aligned with what they like. And if you're not separating yourself by light years, you're just a little louder of contributing to the noise.
You can make your own. There's recipes out there.
Of course.
I have some very good recipes on AmazingRibs.com. And the outstanding factor of ours is they don't contain salt. When you buy a rub in the store, it can be as much as 50% salt. You're paying a lot of money for salt. And you shouldn't put salt on the rubs. And that's a topic that we could spend the rest of the show talking about, why salt should not be in rubs. You got to use salt, but you apply it separately from the spices and herbs. And that the short version is the salt will penetrate deep, but everything else sits on the surface.
Yeah.
So you apply the spices and herbs based on how much surface area you have, and then you apply the salt based on the weight or the total volume because it penetrates. And so rubs should not contain salt. They apply separately.
Was there a second update?
Oh, well, you wanted the news on the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just not a heck of a lot to report. It's at the printer. It comes out May 13. I got my first copy a few weeks ago. It was air expressed from wherever they're printing it. It's 430 some pages. It sells for $40. The last book was $35, but that was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
It's designed. It looks a lot like the last book. It's got some great content in there. Very little overlap. There's some basic stuff like how to do 2-zone cooking that I had to cover again. Because if somebody buys this book and hasn't read the last book, they won't know what I'm talking about when I give a recipe for 2-zone cooking and stuff. So there's very little overlap, though. And it's called the Meathead Method, and it's focused on methods and techniques and doing stuff, some creative stuff. We've talked about frying on the grill. We've talked about wok cooking on a charcoal chimney.
Yep.
We've talked about, hey, if people listen to this show all the time, they don't need the book because we've covered most of it on this show.
Right.
Koji is another one that's in there. So there's a lot of cool new techniques that you just can't find in any other barbecue book. And if you're halfway experienced at barbecue, this is the next step. This is where barbecue goes next, too. There's a lot of ethnic ingredients in here. There's a lot of gochujang and stuff like that. And, Greg, you've hit barbecue joints around the country, and I suspect a number of your listeners do too. Look what's going on out there. People are putting a lot of Spanish and Mexican and Asian flavors into barbecue. There's a number of barbecue restaurants that have a strong Asian flavor, and they're creating really great tasting barbecue with these Asian flavors. And that's where barbecue's going next. And I've tried to get that in the book.
A couple months ago, we asked this question in the embedded correspondence, so we better ask it to you since you were part of the question. Between the two, Meathead's second book or Jess Pryle's second book, who is going to have the better selling book? I'll tell you how everything's split out. Who do you think is going to have the better selling book, Meathead?
Well, this doesn't include content because I'm going to buy her book because she's very good and I respect her immensely. But I'm with HarperCollins, which is one of the biggest publishers in the world. They're buying ads on Amazon. They're buying ads on Reddit. They're promoting it. We hired Carrie Bachman, who's the top PR agent behind Amazing Ribs, is putting money into marketing and promotion. My calendar is pretty full now with radio and television and public appearances. So we're probably going to be doing more marketing than she, and therefore we'll probably outsell her.
I said, without batting an eyelash, for as much as I'm a fan of Jess, and I know she's been on TV now going on 2 seasons for the Hardcore Carnivore show out there on Outdoor Channel, said Meathead's first book sold like no other book has sold before, over 250,000 copies. I've talked to top men and women in the industry. They could only dream of selling 250,000 copies, and if you did somewhere even near to that, you're probably going to blow everybody else out of the water. And at least 2 of the 4 also agreed with me. And then there were 2 dissenters. We'll leave them unnamed at this moment, because how dare they go against me. But they're allowed to have their own opinions, whether they're wrong or not.
Doug Scheiding better not be one of them.
No, Doug believed in you for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, look at Jess has got a lot going for her. She's got a great personality. She's a decent writer. She's creative. She's far better looking than me.
So am I.
And I'm sure she'll do well with it. But right now, it comes down to muscle, and
Yep.
we've got a little more muscle than she does right now.
Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. If you didn't do your best eating, whether it be corned beef, pastrami, a combination of both, whatever, what do you do with the leftovers? And can you break it down between leftover pastrami or leftover corned beef, or whatever recipe you're about to divulge is good for either?
Yeah, I've got 3 or 4 ideas that are pretty straightforward and simple, and they're all available on AmazingRibs.com. But first of all, most folks cook corned beef. And by the way, next time you do your corned beef, don't boil it. Keep it low, simmer it. When you apply heat to meat, you contract the muscle fibers and squeeze out juices. And believe it or not, you can make meat dry by boiling it, because you squeeze out the juices.
Oh, yes.
So keep the temperature low. Keep it down around 190, small bubbles. Let it go for a long time so it pulls a lot of the excess salt out of there. In fact, I often put it in cold water in the fridge overnight just to desalinate it a bit. And the other big trick to corned beef is don't put the cabbage in until about 15, 20 minutes before you're ready to serve.
Right.
Otherwise, it just disintegrates and gets mushy. So you got corned beef. Corned beef is the basic ingredient for pastrami. Now, everybody in Texas, turn off the sound because you're not going to like what I'm about to say. But to me, the ultimate expression of beef briskets is pastrami.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love pastrami. It is, most corned beef is made from brisket. Now, you can get some corned beef made from the leaner cuts, but you want brisket. And if you get a choice, if they got chunks in the store, they're usually about 3 pounds. And if you can choose usually you got the flat and the point, get point.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's called decal. But pastrami is simply, you take your corned beef and you put a special pastrami rub on it. And I've got the recipe. people say using my recipe for the rub, you come out with a dead ringer for Katz's, which is the great Manhattan deli. And I know you went there recently.
Oh, loved it.
What a trip, huh? Isn't that a trip? Great food and what a scene, you know?
Oh, it's a process.
Oh, yeah. And my rub on corned beef, you smoke it, bring it up to 155 or so. It's already cured and cooked, so you don't have to take it to 203 or anything like that. You can if you want, and that'll tenderize it a bit. What they do at Katz's is they actually steam it. But I got the whole process. You can turn leftover corned beef into killer pastrami with the right rub, not a problem, and a smoking setup. So that would be my first choice. My second choice is Reuben sandwiches. I mean, name a sandwich that's better than Reuben. I mean, I love my peanut butter and jelly, and there's all kinds of great sandwiches. But I think Reuben is like a great sandwich. And you can make it with corned beef, which is the traditional, or with pastrami. And you just mix up a Thousand Island type dressing, ketchup, mayonnaise, some chopped sweet pickles or pickle lily or pickle relish. I throw a splash of hot sauce in there.
Oh, yes.
And spread it on both sides of the bread. Throw it on a panini press or in a flat pan and toast the outside. I don't toast both sides, just one side. Sauerkraut.
Oh, yeah.
Sauerkraut in a can is inferior to sauerkraut in the plastic bag in the refrigerator section. Canned sauerkraut is soft and mushy. Get the refrigerated fresh sauerkraut that's in a bag in the refrigerator sections and take it out and squeeze it in your hand. Get rid of all the juice. Get it, dry it out a bit so it's not dripping all over the place. Or use a potato
ricer.
It looks like a big. Pardon?
Potato ricer.
Ricer.
Yep.
Yep. It looks like a big garlic press.
Yep.
You put in a potato ricer and squeeze it, and that squeezes out all the juice. It's great. And then a slice of Swiss cheese. We didn't have Swiss cheese last night, and I used a different cheese, and it turned out fine.
Oh.
So that's your basic Reuben. Delightful, great sandwich. I like to put it in the panini press and get it crusty on the outside, and some of the cheese melts out and sticks to the platen, and that's like a little frico. It's fantastic. Clint Cantwell, who is the president of our company and the GM, runs the website, has a fun recipe for grinding corned beef and making a burger out of it, and he does a patty melt type burger on a sandwich, and he uses rye bread, which is the traditional Reuben bread, and he basically makes a Reuben burger, which has got all the same ingredients as the Reuben does, only it's a burger. Great idea. Do 4 to 6 ounces is the right quantity, and that's a lot of fun. And then finally, corned beef hash. And corned beef hash is easy to do. You can do it cast iron pan in your grill. You just shred it, put some oil, bacon fat maybe in the pan, and maybe chop up some potato and mix it in there with it. Mm-hmm. And then you crack an egg at the end. And it's fantastic. So a lot of good stuff you can do with your leftover corned beef.
Recipes,
on the grill,
of course, over at AmazingRibs.com. We're talking with our pal Meathead. Meathead, our time is up, if you can believe it. We've raced right through the segment, and we have plenty to get to next time around. But until then, if you want to catch up with Meathead, AmazingRibs.com, or don't be a fool, follow this guy on the Twitter. He is very active, always posting some really controversial stuff. People love taking shots at Meathead whenever. He's a glutton for punishment, that guy, but he's willing to put out the content and willing to take it on the chin. And one of the great follows if you're not doing it. So, Meathead, always appreciate the time.
I'm flattered you think so.
Always. And we'll see you again in 3 months.
See you guys.
All right.
All Case Centralites. Greg,
there he
thank
is.
you.
Meathead right there. By the way, that's not like a backhanded compliment or a shot at Meathead. Follow him on Twitter if you're not. Well worth it. A lot of great posts. And then it's always a race to the comments to see what expert is going to take Meathead to task. By the way, Meathead will get hooked and will go after you as well if you're going after him, which I love. All right, Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com is ready to go. Before we get to him, Primo Grills. How about that? What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that you can get low and slow temperatures. We love that they can get rip-roaring hot for the high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday lineup of ceramic cookers? The ability to do true two-zone cooking, like Meathead had just mentioned. Two-zone cooking, very important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. The best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill, the game-changing oval design. Shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. And there's more than 60 different ways to cook on it. If you love accessories, they got them. Here's the one thing that differentiates Primo from a lot of these other grills. Only sold through dealers. No online nonsense, nothing like that. Certainly you can go online and see all the products, the specs, all that stuff. But you're ready to buy, dealers only. Find one at primogrill.com, visit it in person, and then pick which oval you like best. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz, yes. Patented technology, yes. True two-zone cooking capabilities, multiple sizes of ovals, yes. Primogrill.com is the place to go. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram and all the other social medias as well. Why don't you? We're back with Wes Wright, cookoutnews.com. Stick around.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we thank Meathead for joining us last segment. This portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker. Most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Available in 3 sizes with a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a professional, it's a cooker you want to add to the arsenal, and that's the bottom line. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. My next guest tonight runs cookoutnews.com. Here for his first visit of 2025 as we talk about the first visit. What are you talking about? He's a monthly guest. Third visit. I'm stuck on quarterly after Meathead, which has changed also for 2025. Oh, all right, Wes Wright, for crying out loud. Sorry, Wes. YouTube poll question of the week. Magic Kingdom is the worst Disney park to go to when you're an adult, yes or no?
I'd say yes.
Yes. 67% of the YouTube voting public also agreeing with you and agreeing with me, as I was just there last week, and can confirm undeniably that between Epcot and Universal Studio, Magic Kingdom is kind of a tragedy all rolled into one when you're an adult with your adult kids. Remembering how magical it was 25 years ago, a little less magical 25 years after the fact. We have a lot of business to talk about here tonight, Wes, so let's get right to it. If I might remind folks, last month as we were closing out, we talked a little bit about RecTech, and you said, is there a possibility that they're still selling that Smokestone or whatever the hell their griddle is called, a wood-fired pellet griddle? I think it's called the Smokestone. And 100% yes, they are still selling it in 2 different versions, one more expensive than the next, if you can believe it. Are you surprised that this is still a thing?
Yeah, I'm surprised that it is. I mean, I don't know if It's weird, sort of like when you talk and then all of a sudden you see an ad for what you were talking about. After that show, I had like a targeted Instagram ad or two on that very product, which I found interesting. And they claim in the ad that it's highly reviewed and people love it. I don't know who's buying it though, you know?
I did reach out, ask if they would come on the
it.
show to talk about it. I did not get any type of response back. So the most recent reviews that I've seen on YouTube, not very recent, and from nobody of real note, from a popularity or an influential standpoint. So I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but certainly nobody I know has one, and I'm sure nobody that you know has one.
No, and I remember you reaching out, I don't know, last year or whenever it came out, and they said, yeah, let's talk about it, and never happened. So that doesn't make me feel good.
They did release a new grill, though, which is the Patio Legend 400. So what do we know about that?
Yeah, they had the Patio Legend 410 that they came out last year, and this is an updated model, if you want to call it that. It's very similar to the previous one. It just has like a more robust cart with it, with like a front shelf. Look, the controller looked the same though. It mostly the same. Just in the looks department, it's a little different, and some of the specs are slightly different. But it's a pretty similar grill to what they had before. I'll be honest, they have a ton of SKUs. They have a lot of grills, and it's hard to tell you like what's better than the other, or why you should get one over the other. That's not to say they're not good products. I just, in my opinion, they have a lot of SKUs.
Do grills coming out nowadays? Let me roll back here. It seemed like, I'm going to say the old days. So like, let's say early 2000s and before that, a lot of grills didn't come with the whole enclosed cabinetry storage space.
Yeah.
It was a lot of open legs and maybe a little basket for you to throw some shit underneath there to hold. And now it seems almost table stakes that anything coming out from any grill manufacturer, there's got to be doors, it's got to be enclosed, there's got to be additional storage. Is that kind of the way things are going?
Yeah, this one doesn't have like a full cabinet, but it does seem like, especially with smokers with like pellet grills, it used to always be that, barrel shape. So it looked like a classic, like offset. And now seems like they want to be more and more like a traditional gas grill, cabinet and everything. I don't know if that's the right move or not, but maybe they want people to think more of them as all purpose grills. Yeah, I don't know. I never use my grill cabinets, if I'm being honest. I don't know if you do, but they just stay shut. So
the only thing that it holds is a propane bottle. And if I can figure out a way to get it outside, I'll stick it outside as well. For me, it's out of sight, out of mind. So I might stick something very important down there. And if the door's closed, I don't even ever think about to go in there and get it.
Yeah, same. An interesting thing about RecTech too is, we talked before about companies moving away from direct-to-consumer sales. They're another brand where they started all direct-to-consumer. We're all about it. Then they started a partnership with Ace. You can find them in a lot more Ace locations, and you can even find them in grill stores now too, like local grill stores. And they even some like Shields and places like that. They're keep expanding their distribution and moving away from that model.
I've never owned one, but I feel like the smoker side of it is a pretty robust number of units, depending on whatever model you're getting. I've always heard, or the refrain continues to be, almost like they're overbuilt, kind of like a Broil King product.
Yeah, I think they make quality products. People that have them love them. I've used one before. One thing about them is they usually get a lot hotter than a lot of other pellet grills. Like that one model we were just talking about, that gets to like 700 degrees, which is, almost unheard of within pellet grills, unless it's like purpose built as a grill. But, that's something about it. And it's not like 304 stainless, but they use stainless steel in a lot of their construction, a lot of stainless components. And that's why people love them.
All right, let's move to Solo Stove. Is there a more tragic story, or should I say, is there a bigger joke in the live fire industry than Solo at this point. By the way, as of 3 p.m. today, their stock was 20 cents. 20 cents.
They've got a lot of problems. They're 20
cents. It was down 16% to 20 cents.
Yeah, I mean a one penny swing of 20 cents, that's a big percentage too, you know. It's crazy what's happened to them. And they're still, the largest smokeless fire pit brand out there. But they just I think what happened, and I'll probably write something about this, but they rode that wave, that D2C like startup wave through the pandemic, and I think, like a lot of companies, they thought it would just keep on climbing, right? And so then they started doing crazy marketing, like a lot of the startups, outside of the live fire industry do, like their partnership with Snoop Dogg and all that like really mainstream stuff that, to me, just based on numbers I see in my website, is kind of useless and really expensive. So they canned their CEO, got a new CEO. It didn't get better from there. They kept blowing through money in marketing. And the same thing, they redid an ad with Snoop Dogg and claimed that the OLED wasn't a problem, even though it was, and threw out some bogus numbers that didn't make any sense. Then the new CEO left within a year. And now, they're just getting hammered. Then they released earnings and gave guidance that we just took on a bunch of debt. We don't think we'll make our covenants, which is like your ratios that measure that you can repay them. And we need to refinance all our loans. Otherwise we might not make it and we could go bankrupt. Like that's all very on the table in the next like 6 months.
If you're a Solo fan, you want to buy up all the stuff that you can get because they might not be making anything else.
Yeah, it's very possible. They haven't released anything new hardly in like a year, which was part of the problem. They kept releasing new products and people were buying it. And then also there's so many Solo Stove like products, and they didn't differentiate themselves as a brand like Traeger's famous for, that they created a brand and you want to be in the Traeger hood and all that. I don't think Solo Stove has that same vibe to them, and so they haven't been able to maintain what they're doing.
I feel like if we pool $58.37 together in clean money, we could probably buy Solo Stove, you and me.
I think that's a good option. And I do think they're a takeover target. If you want to go big, you're a company, you don't have a big presence in fire pits, just buy them, and for cents on the dollar, because they're going to go bankrupt, possibly, allegedly.
All right, we're going to make a prediction right here. I'm speaking for Wes. Traeger is going to buy Solo and rebrand the smokeless fire pit, so you can have smokeless fire pit in the Traeger hood. It seems like an easy buy for them.
Yeah, it does. I don't see them
or
doing
anybody
it just because
in the live fire space for that instance.
Yeah, I think they're. My prediction, by the end of the year, they'll either be out of business or bought by somebody else.
Yeah. What about W.C. Bradley? They buy weird stuff. They bought Spark. Solo could probably be theirs for a song.
Yeah, they just have to see how much it overlaps with their Tiki brand, because they own that too.
Right.
And they have a smokeless. So I don't know if it might be worth it to move into the space and combine it. They'd have to look at that, especially for how cheap it is. But yeah, I think somebody buys it. I mean, they make good products. I like Solo Stove products. So there's a reason why someone would want to buy the company.
So we laugh at 20 cents a share for Solo. By the way, and we reference them as a potential buyer here, Traeger stock is $1.69 as of 3 p.m. today. How much longer can that sustain without some type of delisting?
As long as they stay above $1, they're good. I mean, they could make the decision to go private if they wanted. But I think if you're under $1 for 6 months, there's like some rules that you have to do to stay listed, which I don't know that Solo Stove will do. But Traeger, I think, I think the worst is behind us in the grilling industry sales. Well, I don't know with all this tariff stuff. We'll see, but I think in the near future, things will start turning around for them.
Do you think the smokeless fire pit sector is now saturated, or do you think we'll still see Me Too products coming in?
I think we'll still see companies keep releasing them because it's an easy thing to get into. There's so many of them, and Solo Stove proved they couldn't defend their IP when they originally tried and they didn't defend it enough. So then the floodgates opened and everybody started releasing them.
Going back to Traeger for a second, and unrelated to the ultra low stock price, do they have a new cooker on the way?
I would say so. On the last time on your show, I mentioned they had a trademark for, it's called like Wasatch or Wasatch. I can't say it. Wasatch. It's a mountain range in Utah, and it's for a griddle. So I'm curious. What do you think? What kind of griddle product do you think is next for Traeger?
Smaller?
You think smaller, or do you think bigger?
I mean,
say with 3-burner now,
36, but it's a 36-inch griddle top, right?
I thought it was like a 30, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think so. My thought on normally in this industry, I would not even challenge your thought on bigger. It's always bigger. Buy bigger, buy bigger.
Yeah.
You talk about griddles, like 36-inch griddle, it's fucking heavy. So
yeah,
are you going to go to 48 or are you going to blow it out? Like, how much is that actually going to weigh? And do you need 8 people to put the griddle top on? And how easy is it going to be to move around? So I think griddling is still hot, but I think the trend that we're maybe missing is we're going to see smaller griddles coming out, portability to take to multiple places.
Yeah, I was, that's a good bet. I'd be curious if people start coming out with 42-inch griddles too. 36 has been like the go-to.
Yeah.
And someone just released it at 42. I can't think of who did, but we'll see. We'll see what the market bears there.
Blackstone, we've talked about them over the last couple months in conjunction with Weber to see when that deal might be closing. I haven't heard anything. And I reached out to Roger Daly to book him on the show, and he has had to continually pass because it has not come to official close yet, so getting through the FTC stuff. They have released something called the Bronco Combo Cooker. So is there any potential naming issues? Because didn't Oklahoma Joe have a Bronco, and now Blackstone has a Bronco? Is that a potential lawsuit at all?
I'm not sure. I think it depends on what they have, if who has a trademark for it, if they do, and if there's any customer confusion based on what the trademark's for, like, is it for all cookers or is it for drum smokers, or, and it's kind of a generic name. So, I don't know. I don't know on the IP front if that's any issue.
Do you like the cooker itself though?
Yeah, I think it's neat. I don't know how much I would use it, but I like how they always try to kind of innovate with that combo style cookers. On one side you've got a griddle, on the other side you have a vertical pellet smoker. It's two very different styles of cooking, so you get a lot of versatility from that.
Had you ever used a Pit Boss vertical smoker before, like a box smoker?
I haven't. No, I haven't used a Pit Boss.
I thought you had one of those.
Smoker.
They didn't send you one?
I've got a Pit Boss has never sent me a grill, I don't think. I had a Pit Boss pellet grill and I had a Pit Boss griddle that I've used, but I have never used one of their vertical ones.
All right, so maybe it's the guy that I work with was telling me, might have been a year or two ago, and they came out with a really big cabinet style pellet cooker. He raves about it. I mean, he's a pretty accomplished backyard barbecue guy, can appreciate what's good and what's crap. And he just goes on and on about it. So I've always been fascinated with cabinet cookers, even like the charcoal high-end ones like Spice Wine, and then Superior, Southern Smoker, blah, blah, blah. Who's the main guy? This Stumps Smokers was huge name back
Yeah.
in the day. I think he still makes those. But that's a smaller griddle, right? That's not a 36-inch griddle. You got your
No, it is
You got
smaller.
your cabinet style smoker, and then you have a little bit of a narrower griddle. So maybe going into that wave of what I think might be seeing here in 2025 in griddles.
Yeah, especially with a combo grill too, you can only have so much real estate. Otherwise, you have like an extremely wide, cooker in general too. So, they're kind of capped there.
What are we working on over the next 30 days we should be keeping an eye on?
Let's see. Well, I'll be at the HPB Expo next week, so we'll see how that is.
How many
And then
days?
2 days. I'll be
2
there
days.
2 days.
All right.
Yeah. So I feel like that's a good amount.
Yeah.
There's also Blackstone. I'd like to give you some rumors. They have a trademark. Maybe you can speculate what this will be used for. 2 different names, and it's for some type of device that allows you to use multiple cookers with one propane tank. Your facial reaction was what I thought when I read it. It's 2 different names for it. So I don't know what they're working on.
What are the names? The octopus?
I can't remember them right now, unfortunately, but there's, like chain something, was one of the names, so you're like, but I can't think of, I guess maybe some combo style cooker, but they do that anyways. I don't know what you would use it for.
I'm fascinated now. I'll have to give it some thought. We can circle back up in 30
Yeah.
days. By the way, I don't know if you're familiar with this guy. Memphis Barbecue Supply. His name's Jimmy Shotwell. He's going to be at the HPBA Expo, so he'll see you there.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still
Awesome.
You will notice him because he wears this big chain because he had a podcast for 5 minutes and 38 seconds. And that was the year that I entered the Awards of Excellence, and that podcast won Podcast of the Year. Believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. So he wears that chain around. And I think he's got a tattoo as well. It said, Best Podcast, MBBQA 2018. Look for that guy.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a quick one for you, Greg.
All right.
What do the Cavs do this year? What's your prediction?
Oh, this is a tough one. I mean, what can I say? I'm a Cleveland guy. I think it's us and the Celtics. I don't think anybody else can really touch us. I think we win in 6. It's not even going to go 7.
Wow.
Yeah. Celtics are very tough. Kristaps Porzingis is, I think, going to be out for the rest of the
back?
year. Yeah, he's out.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's hurt.
Oh.
He's been out, so I don't think he's coming back. He's a paper tiger. And I think this is just our year. We had a great trade with Hunter coming up from Atlanta. He's going to be a key piece. We're so deep. We got 2 or 3, not necessarily elite level at every position, but we could have 2 elite levels at every position. And then the backups to those elites are very good. They could be, that 5th starter that's the role player guy or the gel or the glue guy. So I can see the Cavs coming out. Now, as far as who's going to come out of the West, I have no idea. There's so much parity in the West. But we have handled every team in the West pretty much with ease. So I don't know what the score of the game tonight is, or maybe they don't even play until 10 because they're playing the Clippers. But we have steamrolled through the West. I mean, hell, until the other night, we had won another 15 in a row. So while this is not a sports show, I am here to tell you that the Cavs are for real. And I don't know if none of the
championship.
Oh, absolutely realistic potential. But the national media does not want to give us any love.
No.
They don't want to talk about us.
No.
They want to shit on us. It's LeBron. It's every other team.
Warriors
except
and
us.
Lakers.
Yes,
Yep.
Warriors and Lakers. I mean, those teams are 950 years old combined age. So I really like the Cavs' opportunity to not only get to the finals but win another championship, which hasn't been done since 2016, since LeBron. What I would love is the situation that Stephen A. Smith brought up the other day, and I don't know if you talked about it, where the Lakers would catch fire somehow and come out of the West and go against Cleveland, and then Cleveland beats the Lakers. So the winning of a championship against LeBron, the guy that helped them win the first one. So I don't know. What do you think about the Cavs?
No, I think they're legit. They play good team ball. So they have a real shot.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, look for Jimmy Shotwell next week in the 2 days that you're down there. Tell him I said hi. And enjoy the other portion of vacation that you have set up later in that week.
Yeah.
And then we'll circle back next month and talk about HPB.
All right, sounds good.
All
Thanks,
right,
Rick.
Wes Wright. Headed down to the Big Easy next week, and he's going to be checking out. I got to stop that. Did I stop it? Oh, I did stop it. Very good. All right. Almost missed the automated clock timer. So he's headed down to the Big Easy. He's going to check and see what anything new might be released, unveiled, and or otherwise mentioned at HPB Expo. Too far for me to go, and don't want to go. Follow Wes, cookoutnews.com, all social media, and hit his website. Subscribe to the website, too. All great content, especially if you're into business like me. You're going to love all the reads. All right, we're back to wrap the first hour. Right after this, stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up? This is JM, host of the Celebrity Grill podcast on iTunes, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Wes Wright for joining us last segment. Cookoutnews.com is the website, also on social media as well. For all your latest updates, Wes always digging in to the top names in the industry. Give you some late-breaking news, writing opinion pieces as well. I do like cabinet-style smokers. I'm a big fan. I've always been a big fan. I've never owned one. So how big of a fan could I be? I know. Hypocrite. But still a fan. Love the look. Love the aesthetic. All right, we are a little bit late, so let's play clock catch-up before we get into the second hour guests. You are listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.